Welcome back to the series where I'm covering all the old Disney cartoons. The year is 1924. Laugh-O-Gram Studio failed miserably. It went bankrupt. But Walt Disney was still out there selling photographs, and that was his dream of becoming a full-on animator. Well, his whole animation studio. Most of them would move over to California, the land where Hollywood was, and where all filmmaking magic was. And he was able to get a deal over there finally after pitching his pilot of Alice series comedies after the first one in 1923 to a place called Wrinkler Studios, which was headed by a guy named Charles Mintz, who if you know, you know, but we'll get to there later. The Alice comedies were supposedly based off the book Alice in Wonderland, Alice's Adventures in Wonderland to be more exact, but they really didn't. They're just kind of like, there's a girl and she's animation, and her name's Alice, and that's the only thing that really connects them. But yeah, they continued them from 1924, and they would continue this series to 1927, but today we're just going to talk about the 1924 animated shorts produced by Walt Disney. A lot of these animated shorts, like the first one we're going to talk about, Alice's Day at Sea, feature a lot of live action. And honestly, this first one's probably the best one. Why? Because it features a doggo sleeping in bed. Look how cute that little doggy is. Oh, I want to pet it. Too bad he's been dead for over 100 years, probably. We haven't even gotten to the animated parts of this animated short and I already love it. Look, there's a dog in a car. What more do you want of life? One of the main reasons I like about these Alice comedy shorts is the fact that you get to see the live action footage. We get to see what 1920s California looks like, and it's pretty neat to see all the old cars and settings. And like I said, the video quality for this one is pretty good. That's not consistent for all of them, but I find that the Alice comedies were actually, some of them were saved a lot better than other ones, let's just say that. Anyway, 4 minutes into this animated short, we finally get the animation, where Alice is like, I wish I was a sailor, talking to some random bum on the beach. We then get an animation of her vision, which is on the seafloor. I don't think that's what being a sailor is like. You're not supposed to crash, but, you know, some people do, some people don't. Most of this is just, here's little cute little scenarios, like here's a catfish. And that's about it. The animation is pretty stilted, which is to be expected. This is a very early animation, and only very few animated studios, well, none of them really, only one person, they did really good animation pre-1924, I guess. And yeah, so a lot of it looks pretty stilted. They didn't invent the principles of animation yet. I'm not even joking, they didn't invent them yet. The rest of the short is just Alice swimming away from a giant, weird-looking fish. Yeah. She finds a roundabout car, and she drives away, and then is randomly attacked by an octopus rock. It's, and her feet are nice. Okay. The crying effect looks terrible, by the way, in case you couldn't tell. But uh-oh, it was only just a dream. And the dog tries to help her pull off the ropes. Wow, the sailors are like, what's that dumb girl doing? And she's like, I was just having a dream. And they laugh. The end. Next up is Alice's Spooky Adventures. Here we get to see a recurring cast of the Little Rascals, I guess. And yeah, these kids we'll see over. They are pretty token. Let's see, Alice is a token girl, there's a token fat kid, and there's even a token black kid, surprisingly. It's pretty rare to see that in a 1920s animated short. But yeah, he runs away in the first short, but there is a black kid in the group. That's pretty interesting to see. Anyway, the kids are reenacting the Sandlot. They're trying to hit a baseball, of course. The kid was riding a bike and trying to catch it. What an idiot. And they break the glass, and you already know the setting. They're scared of going in a haunted house, so one of them goes in. And they're scared because they're all wusses. So the girl goes in because, you know, these guys suck. Now, I don't think the house is haunted, but for some reason, Alice here just gets her head stuck constantly in the drywall there and keeps doing weird crap. I don't know what that's about. She hits her head so hard she ends up in Spookville, as they call it, which is full of ghosts. Where else would Spookville be filled of? Well, actually, it turns out there's a cat in there inside one of the ghost sheets. Julius the cat. Do you remember him? He's like proto-Mickey Mouse, or proto-Oswald the Lucky Rabbit. He's just a Felix the Cat ripoff. He kinda sucks. Anyway, the ghosts get pissed off at the Julius the cat because he breaks up their mahjong game, so a bunch of them come and try to attack them. Of course, they do the same running animation. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, you're gonna see this running animation where they run and then do this little jump thing, like, constantly. Like, in all these animated shorts. For some reason, they have the same running animation for all the characters, and that weird long jump they do all the time. Also, Julius the cat takes off his tail a lot and just uses it as a weapon. Very weird. Now, how do you beat ghosts? By just bonking the head. Apparently, they're not transparent. It turns out it was only just a dream, which we already knew. And the cat kissing her hand was actually a cat kissing her hand. Ha ha! I guess that's kind of clever. Now that wasn't too weird. I mean, for a cartoon, I guess it is kind of weird to think about, but it's just cartoon logic. But what really is weird is the end, where a police officer sees that she's grabbing a ball out of this abandoned house, and he decides that, you know what, I'm gonna arrest you for taking back a piece of property even though you're a child. I'm not joking, this is how it ends. What the fuck? The next cartoon is Alice's Wild West show, where apparently all the kids in town are making up a little convention here, where they're making up little shows about the Wild West, which was really popular at this time point. The early 1900s is all about the Wild West. For some reason, this show is sponsored by asbestos, which I mentioned in the Mickey Mouse cartoon. I thought it was weird that was on the curtain, and it's here again. Someone said, oh, there must be an advertisement on the curtain, but why would they advertise that, let alone in a kid thing? Like, why would the kids advertise that, of all things? So I'm still confused. Now it's even more confusing. Why was it asbestos? Why? This one features a lot more live action than animation, as we see kids watch reenactments of stuff going on, which is okay. And that's about it. And I guess some kids come in and break a bench and they fix it, maybe. Yeah, they fix it. They're supposed to be rowdy, but they fixed the bench, so they're not really that rowdy. We then go to animation when Alice tells a story about the Wild West as if she actually was there, instead of being a dream sequence, which you actually see. It transfers over from being a dream sequence all the time to just being stories she tells. Inconsistent, I know. There really isn't much of the dream sequence, she's just fighting natives, I guess, and the repeated animation. And that's about it. When I say that's about it, I mean it literally goes back to live action immediately afterwards. Where now it cuts back to a saloon where people are throwing bottles and acting crazy as hell. Like, what the hell are they assaulting the piano player for? And she's smoking cigar and stuff like that, which is pretty insane. She also fires off her gun in the dark, and it turns out that she killed everybody. Like, what the fuck? But none of that matters, because the guy she was actually trying to shoot got away with a giant safe, because he couldn't open it. I guess that's kind of funny. And also, yes, this is supposed to be the Wild West, but she is driving a car. So that story kind of sucked, and the crowd agrees. They think it was bogus. And they start throwing vegetables. Like, what the fuck? It wasn't that bad of a story. This is pretty funny, I gotta admit that. But it gets even more insane. She chases after a fat kid and starts beating the shit out of him. Like, what the fuck's going on in this short? He starts crying and has scratches all over his face. Like, what the fuck, Disney? Yes, that's how it ends. She beat up a guy, and she's all beaten up, but she's like, yeah! What a fucking weird-ass ending! Next up is Alice's Fishy story, which is about fishing, if you couldn't tell by the title. Alice wants to go fishing with her friends, but she has to practice piano. But she has a clever idea of making her dog, which we've seen before, play the piano for her. In case you're wondering, yes, this dog can play piano. Look at him go, look at him! Oh my god, he's actually playing! Alice wants to go fishing with her friends, but she has to practice piano. But she has a clever idea of making her dog, which we've seen before, play the piano for her. In case you're wondering, yes, this dog can play piano. Look at him go, look at him! Oh my god, he's actually playing! We then get a great shot of what 1920s California looked like. Pretty neat. I like it a lot. Also, this random guy gives these kids a ride, I guess. Never taught them stranger danger, I guess, except for the fat kid in the wagon. He was supposed to be pulled around by it, but he has to run and catch up. At least it's better than getting beat up by Alice. It is pretty funny seeing how fast he can go, apparently. Jeez Louise, look at that wipeout. That was really bad at it, by the way. Anyway, they go to a random crook, and they decide to fish. And during their fishing encounter, Alice decides she's going to tell a story about Eskimos, because why not? I guess stories about the Inuit people are just very fun to kids. Fishing. During the story, Alice and Jalisa the cat are trying to get fish to come out because they're going on vacation. They don't want to come out for the Eskimos. So they go out and have a great plan of just bonking them on the head, because violence is always the answer in these old cartoons. See, violence is always the answer, and they make a shit ton of fish come out, because chewing tobacco, or where the fuck it is, makes them want to spit it out. I don't get it. But yeah, the Inuit or Eskimo, whoever it is, just feeds giant fish to their kids without even, like, chopping up. They have to spit those bones out, like, jeez Louise. And that's it for that story. They go back to the fishing area, and the cop's like, hey, there's a sign here, you dumb kids. No fishing here. It says positively no fishing. Not just no fishing. Positively no fishing. And yeah, they run away. The end. That was a really weird one. And by the way, while that whole fishing story was going on, the dog was playing piano the whole time. Alice and the Dog Catcher is a very weird one. It's about dog catchers, who are one of those played by Walt Disney, believe it or not. And the reason why I'm not showing the beginning right now is because the beginning is fucking bizarre. The kids are having a meeting wearing paper bags over their heads. This is just not any ordinary meeting, though. It is the meeting of the KKK. What? The Club of the Ku Klux Klan, apparently. Or I think it's a parody of it. I'm very confused. The dog's apparently a part of it. And it's like a random cult. But it's not Klan, it's just Clacks, apparently. But don't worry, it's not racist because one of them is black, like quite literally. You see? What the fuck? Why did it have to be tied into real-world racism? But apparently it just had to, alright? Because the rest of the story has nothing to do with that. Alice tells a story about dogs, because she likes dogs. You know, she always daydreams about a cat, even though she owns a dog. About an evil animal collector trying to steal dogs off the street to do evil things. This story is so sad that all the kids start to cry, or fake cry, because it looks like shit. She's trying to help out this dog family. In order to get advice, she starts to envision the devil. Don't ask me why she's envisioning the devil. I don't understand it. It's incredibly confusing. Why is it a devil? There's no angel either, just a random devil she's envisioning that doesn't explain anything. What the fuck's this to do with anything? Why is it a devil? In order to actually save the day, she just finds a Ram TNT bomb and just throws it in there. Like, what the fuck? She then writes her clan, saying this is what we must do, so terrorism is apparently the key. So they go find a dog catcher, I guess, who are just doing their job. I'm like, what the fuck? And they sees that it's none other than the director, Walt Disney, there. You see him? Yeah, Walt Disney's acting in his own film. It's kind of funny, as the dog frees the other dogs. I guess he wanted to be a dog catcher, because they didn't have any actors, but it's really funny to see that. They see the car, or the runabout, they decide they'll steal it, because no one will ever know. Do you know what cartoon I was referencing there? Figure that. Tell me what cartoon I was referencing there in the comment section down below. So yeah, the kids are driving. I hope not, but apparently it looks like they kind of are, maybe. Who knows? They're driving the runabout. What the fuck? They're chasing some poor guy in his little station wagon, whatever the hell that is. Not station wagon, his little wagon. It's pretty funny, actually. This guy's running for his life and then jumps a full fucking 10 feet in the air. Like, geez Louise. And poor Walt Disney has to run to get his cart back, but he fails miserably. As when they get back finally, well, the car goes off a cliff. And he dies. Yeah, they're pretty dead. So yeah, that's the end of the day. Making a car crash and injuring lives is a-okay. But taking a baseball bat from a band house, that's worth going to get in prison for. Alright, so the next cartoon is Alice the Peacemaker. Two kids are arguing about guess their newspaper route, and Alice is going to tell them a story about why they shouldn't fight. So you see, one time a cat and mouse were fighting, prototype of Tom and Jerry here right now. And this cat and mouse, they absolutely hated each other. So much so they made a lady's wig fall off her head and onto the guy's head, and she's bald, because that's funny. Alice comes to them and is like, why don't you guys stop fighting? And they decide, okay, that was easy. It also turns out that these guys aren't even nice people. They shouldn't even really get along because they're fucking criminals. Apparently there were 500 dog biscuits. So they do that run animation that they always do. I don't know why they keep doing this run animation. It's insane. Why does every character run like that? And Alice, being the criminal she is, I guess after she got behind bars, she likes to be a criminal. She decides she's going to help these two criminals. They paint their faces onto a blanket, and the cop dog goes and attacks it, and the donkey kicks him in the face. All this cop wanted to do was arrest these two criminals who hate each other originally, but now they realize they're both criminals, they might as well stick together. What a lovely message for the kids. And with this story, the two boys decide that they're not going to fight because the two criminals can get along, so can they. This short sucked, but luckily it's over. The next one is Alice Gets in Dutch, where we see that she is in school with the rest of her friends. And apparently they're singing, but since it's a silent film, that we don't really know what's going on. She doesn't like the one person singing, I guess. But it's kind of hard to tell because, like I said, it's a silent film, so I do not know. Also, the dog's here again, because why not? There's dogs everywhere. I don't care because I love that dog. So the one kid decides to put ink in a balloon and fill it up, and then he gives it to Alice for some reason to do it. And she does. The teacher takes the balloon and is like, if you're gonna make a balloon, I'm going to pop a balloon. And this is what happens when she pops it, by the way. It is about as weird as it can get. She has blackface on. Lovely. Then she puts a dunce cap on Alice because that was a thing back in the day. So actually, they were just discontinued shortly after this short would be made, actually. In 1926, believe it or not, when they stopped using dunce caps in schools. Pretty weird that was even a thing, though. Very strange. Because school is boring, she decides to go to sleep, because why not? Where she's having a dance party of all the animals, the dog, the donkey, the cat, and the bear who's doing I don't know what that is. The dog also has a magical tail that is magical. But this whole amazing party is interrupted by an evil teacher. You can tell she's evil because she's got devil horns. Ignore the fact, in a previous short, Alice got advice from a devil in her thought cloud. The teacher has a fucking sword and she stabs the donkey. Like, what a bitch. The textbooks decide to have a cannon to shoot at them because of course they would. But it's okay because the cannonball just goes wherever the hell it wants. Like, what the fuck is going on there? So they build a cannon of their own to shoot back against knowledge because knowledge sucks, according to this animated short. They shoot cayenne pepper at them and they sneeze. Really interesting. Cayenne pepper tastes pretty good as a seasoning, I gotta admit. So all the books fall apart and that makes the teacher sad. And she starts to want to stab Alice after a jump cut in the ass, because why not? And that's literally how it ends. The kids clap at the end. The next animated short I'm not going to talk about too much because it is partially lost and the quality of it is incredibly terrible, so there's not much to say. It's Alice hunting in Africa. There's no really setup for this one because there really isn't, because like I said, it's very short. It's missing most of it. There's no live action segment. And for what you can tell, there isn't much going on. Alice is just in Africa, I guess, and they're just hunting random animals, and that's about it. For what I can tell, it's very hard to see, so I'm just going to skip this one. Next up is Alice and the Three Bears. This one also doesn't have a live-action segment, and it's also a weird adaptation of Goldilocks and Three Bears, which, like I said, they're adapting fairy tales, but they didn't even bother to adapt Alice in Wonderland, even though that's what they're supposed to be. Anyway, the bears are cooking a meal, and the one bear decides to go out and search for some frogs, because frogs are apparently important for this meal. But much like Big the Cat, he has trouble catching a frog. Alice and Julius the Cat decide to go on the bear's house. Also, you can tell the quality of this animated short is not up to snuff compared to the previous ones, but that's okay. By quality, I mean restoration and film preservation, because it does not look as good. The rest of the animated short is Julius beating up the bear because the bear didn't like them inhabiting their home and invading their privacy. But you know, Alice and Julius are always right even if they're wrong. The bears are pretty pissed off about the cat beating them up, so they decide they're just gonna kill Alice using a very torturous device. Like, geez Louise, that's fucking brutal. In a scene that I can't even really understand, Julius is like one of his lives as a ghost comes back to life for the power of alcohol. He sends it, I think, to go to fight the bears off screen. You can't really tell because the screen gets fucked up there. It's really confusing. And he saves Alice's death from Buzzsaw, which, like I said, it's a pretty fucking brutal death, bears. She almost died there. Holy shit. And I guess they're lovers now because they kiss. Okay, that was fucking bizarre. Anyway, the last anime short from 1924 is Alice the Piper, which luckily is not in terrible quality like the last two shorts, though it does have the absence of the live-action intro, which is pretty interesting. I wonder if they'll keep that up for the next couple shorts and just have the hybrid and no live-action. Anyway, this one features mice living inside a house, trying to take all the goodies from it. And seeing as this is all 100% pretty much animated, it's nice to see the animation has improved a little bit. There's actually more dynamic stuff going on. It definitely looks better here. Anyway, the mice are just fucking with an old man who's like a king guy, maybe, because he has the king crown. Is that the guy that we've seen other shorts? I don't really know, maybe. Apparently the mice just love fucking with this old man. I mean, they're brutal. Like, they have a bear trap and everything. Like, poor man, all he wanted to do was sleep. Like, geez Louise. He's so pissed off that he puts out a $5 award. What a cheap ass. Also, apparently he is the king, but he lives in a generic house. The mice think he's a cheap ass. They change it to $5,000, which, you know, it's a fair price. Alice and Julius see the sign and say that let's do the Pied Piper thing, get rid of these rats that way, because I want to get ice cream. The mice do like the music a lot, think it's very entertaining, but they realize pretty quickly that they're trying to get them to drown in the river. And he's like, I'm not a fucking idiot, I've read this story, and they fuck with them, which is pretty funny, actually. These proto-Mickeys are pretty clever, I gotta say. But luckily for them, they find a giant industrial vacuum cleaner just randomly there, and they use it to suck up all the mice. This is a really good vacuum cleaner, how it only sucks up the mice. That's pretty great design there. So the king pays them only $5. They're pissed off. So what do they do to him? They suck his ass up. Jeez Louise, this guy just wanted some rest. He was only going to pay $5 originally, but now they're going to fucking torture him? Poor dude. The vacuum ends up going fucking crazy because they are sucking up too much shit, I guess. So they have to use a reverse button, which I'd never seen on a vacuum, by the way, my whole life, but they always seem to appear in cartoons, and everything else gets sucked back right up. But hey, they got a fat stack of cash, so everything's good and right in the world. I gotta say, Alice and Julius have been pretty much miscreants and deviants throughout these entire animated shorts in 1924. Pretty jarring, actually. And that was every Disney cartoon from 1924. They're very interesting time capsules of the time, and the live-action segments honestly end up being more entertaining than the animation, mostly because the animation is so primitive, and live-action gives you a glimpse of an older time. And it's pretty charming, especially seeing the kids run around and play. Kind of reminds you, like, well, that's pretty neat to see that, you know, get that side of history sometimes. That's neat to see. Also cool to see Walt Disney act some of them and some early animation stuff. So they're fun, but they're more historical pieces than actual great entertainment. They'll really be dated in a lot of areas, but they're fun to look back at. So yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time when I cover 1925. So I'll see you then.